So I had a hilarious week. I have some really interesting conversations with my sister while I was visiting there, but also just even as recently as last night. And we're talking about hanging on to stuff that you should have thrown away a long time ago, but it just lives in your house and you just can't throw it away. And I have these things, and she has these things, and she's like, you know what? I realize it's so bad that I actually, she got inspired to do her entire art project for the year, this year-long art project based on this topic. So she's like, there's so many things in my house that I should be throwing away that it's just so hard to throw away, you know? And even my parents have things that they should be throwing away that they don't throw away, and I do it too. And so we were talking and laughing about the things we actually found in our house, you know? And she said, you know, I pulled open a kitchen drawer and something rolled to the front of the drawer when I opened it, and it was a used birthday candle, one used birthday candle. And it's like, I guess somebody was saving this in case we were going to reuse a birthday candle. That doesn't make any sense. She found an old key, a key to a car that we used to have 20 years ago that we nicknamed the Puker. And it was my dad's like kind of, you know, beat up car, just get to work kind of car. That car tragically died in a fire. It blew up in the middle of the night. So I remember this vivid memory as a kid. When I was like 8 years old. I just woke up at 3 a.m., my whole family streaming out of the house. There was a fire 20 feet tall, and it was my dad's car. It just blew up. It was actually, I felt sad. I think there was some grief involved. I loved that little car. But so she still has the key. So this is a car that doesn't exist, but you just can't throw away the key. It just hurts, you know? I can't. It's the Puker, you know? So we were talking about this, and I told her, yeah, actually this week I felt like I was ripping up, like it was so hard to throw away this little thing. Somebody that visited my house accidentally left a statue of Saint Mary, and I don't really have a lot of statues of saints and things. That's not really my style. But I couldn't throw it away. How many months has this thing been in our house? It's been there many months just living on the bookshelf. And I'm looking at it going, I don't like how this particularly looks, but I'm a pastor. I can't throw away a saint in the garbage. I just cannot do it. This is sacrilegious. So the thing just lives in my house, and I can't do anything about it. It's a really interesting topic. And so it got me thinking, we were laughing so much last night. I was red in the face at all the things that we were starting to think of that we had. And kind of linking into something I've been, studying and researching, which is, the new devices that are coming out that we're very hooked to. So the title of the message today is, Are We Hooked on Stuff? Are we hooked on stuff? And what really piqued my curiosity, what really got me into this, is I was seeing stats about the depression rates of teens going up 60, 70%. The depression and anxiety rates. So I saw a stat that said 67% of undergrad students say that they feel an overwhelming amount of anxiety. That's very high. That's almost 7 out of 10. And so it got me thinking, something must be wrong. That's very curious. 7 out of 10 college students. And we're talking about the free world, the modern world, the privilege of going to schools and higher education should be exciting, right? But something about the modern setup is creating a lot of anxiety. There was other stats. It was a rabbit hole. There's other stats, like if you spend more than 4 hours a day on your phone on social media, the likelihood of suicide in middle school age kids goes up. And many other things. And so this got me very curious to talk about this and study this whole week. Are we hooked on things and stuff and social media? And when you really think about it, the answer has to be yes, because we're spending more and more time. especially when I see videos. I saw a video researching this. I saw a video of a van that drove up to a red light. It stops at a red light, and a guy comes walking along. It's like one of those street cameras that catches everything that happens in the street. And a guy comes walking up, texting, and he walks right into a parked van. I mean, that's what can you imagine that? It's like, we'll self-destruct, right, if we continue that way. And then when I was telling this to Keishu, she brought up a story she heard where there's literally guys in New York City that get paid to stand outside parking garages or places where a lot of cars are going, and they're literally there to like tap people on the shoulder. Hey, there's cars coming, because they're all walking down the street. All of like New York City, just a stream of people looking like this at their phone, not seeing you're about to walk in front of a car garage where 100 cars every minute go through. So there's guys that get paid. Hey, sir. Hey, tap. Hey, sir. Directing traffic just because people are looking at their phones. It's amazing. And I'm researching more and more, and I realized this is incredible. And you find that actually it was on purposely designed. You know the refresh feature? Who knows that the refresh feature when you're on Instagram or Facebook? What do you do to get the feed refreshed so you can see the latest, newest thing? You pull down. You swipe down, right? You pull it, you drag it down. And so they said, actually, this is a purposeful design to mimic the slot machine being pulled, like an addiction, an addictive behavior. And what happens in a slot machine, random numbers roll up, right? So you don't know what you're going to get. Same thing with your feed. When you pull it, you don't know what's going to come up. Something good might come up, something mundane. Another thing that they did was they changed the alerts, especially on Facebook, from blue. I remember the old days when it was a blue number at the top. It was like a little thumb with a blue number. They changed it to what color at the top when you get a message on Facebook? Red. And red is known, deeply studied, to be a alarm color, a panic color. When you see red, you get excited or panicked. And they even call it alerts. I was realizing, why isn't it alert, as if panic, it's an alert. Somebody liked your last post. Really? That was worth it. I'm glad I panicked and checked that, So you're going through your average experience, going through a day of looking through your feed is quite literally exposing yourself to what is essentially like an addictive circumstance. And a circumstance is very similar to playing slots. So you actually have to be aware of that. I wanted to make everyone aware of that because that definitely changes how I look at that experience. So the answer is yes. Are we hooked on things? We're yes. It's definitely yes. And when I think about the guys who walk into the car that's parked on the road or walk into a pole, I'll admit I've almost walked into poles looking at my phone. I bet some of you have too. You just don't want to admit it. Almost. It's like reality disappears. It's like reality's not there, and you're somewhere else. And you're kind of refusing to look at the value and the inspiration of the present moment. And what it comes down to is, I was roommating with a guy who was an expert in marketing. And he said, I figured something out. When you learn that every physical act fills an internal need, that's when you really figure out how to be a marketing person. And I was thinking, that's interesting, because it reminded me that even on a video game feed, those video game feeds on Instagram? You should download this new game. You'll be addicted if you try it. That's an ad I see all the time now. You'll be addicted if you download this game. It's like, ooh, I want to be addicted. Yeah, let me download it. That's interesting, right? Why would that be appealing? I want to be addicted to a video game. But deep down, it actually comes to this truth that they're right. We are programmed, we want to be addicted. That is in the human design. But we're supposed to be addicted to something that's not artificial, right? We're designed by God to be addicted to true love, addicted to God's love, addicted to time with our families. And I was thinking about this concept of addicted to true love. Reverend Moon talks about it a lot, being intoxicated with true love. And I remember the first conversation me and Keishu had was 15 hours long. And I hadn't slept like in a day or two before that. It was crazy times, traveling around. And I hadn't even slept, and I still did a 15-hour conversation. I mean, I woke up the next day, I probably looked like I had like the worst hangover you'd ever seen. Or like, whoa, what is this guy? You know? But I was just talking to Keishu. That was how fascinating it was. I probably woke up with bags under my eyes, like, ugh. And I was thinking about parents who are staying up all night, right? Taking care of the kids. And it's almost like comparable to that guy who's like, yeah, my life was fine, and then I walked into a casino, and I was just there all day and every day, day and night, and then my money was gone. It's exactly the same. Life was fine, and then I had kids, and then we did day and night, and all my money was gone. It's the same thing. We're programmed for that. We are. We're programmed to be intoxicated, totally addicted, totally, what Keishu and I called it was the pink cloud. Like nothing else mattered. We're out of reality, just on the pink cloud together. We are actually designed by God to be like that. So I think it's understandable that you get kind of hooked on things. And it's not just things, it's actually also behaviors and actions too. I was listening to the radio, and a very interesting presentation came on, a Christian woman who was describing her journey as a saleswoman, a professional woman. And she won, one of these years that she was doing it, she won first place, the top salesperson in the country in her company. And they had a big end-of-year convention where they awarded her. They put her on stage. They gave her a medal or a plaque, flowers. They gave her a big hug by the CEO. There's 2,000 people out there. You know, she has the microphone and is asked to give a speech. Afterwards, people are asking her, what is your secret? How did you do it? And she said, it was the best feeling ever. And so what happened next year? She made sure she was first place again. And so she got the top award again next year, and the next year, and the next year, and the next year, several years in a row. And then she realized one year, actually, she's looking at her books, and she realizes she doesn't have the quota needed to be first place or to qualify where she was trying to get to. So she had a dilemma. She's like, I must be first place. I must be. So what did she do? She cooked the books. She fabricated social security numbers and names and addresses. Completely unethical, out of thin air. She made up names, social security numbers, and put them in as logged sales. And she got first place again. And then she had to admit to the company at some point, yeah, actually that was fake. And it was big trouble for her. That's pretty serious violation. So here's a good person. She wants to pursue a life of following God. She's a Christian. But something hooked so deep, it drove her past the lines, the reality that, no, that's wrong. She didn't care. And things started to tumble down, and she crashed, and she had a back injury. And so she said that this is when she actually had the big epiphany. She was kind of forced to not work, and she was looking at the Bible. She was reading and she was praying. And she said the quote that pulled her out, that opened the door, that pulled her out of this, was this one. Psalms 18:19. He brought me out into a spacious place. He rescued me because he delighted in me. And when she read it, light bulbs started to go off. She realized this whole time she was doing this crazy work ethic, trying to get the first place. She was doing it because she wanted that CEO to give her the hug, to give her the big pat on the back, to give her the award. And she realized, you know why? Because my mom never told me, I'm proud of you. My mom never said that to me. We had a very cold relationship. All driven from that lack of verbal appreciation, that lack of love. She realized that was the aha moment. And if I'm going to get through this, what I need to do is go to God. I need to go to God. God is proud of me. That was the light bulb that turned her around, and for several years she had to pray about this and work on it. She said she started to realize God was there the whole time. God was there the whole time, ready to say, you're my daughter, and I'm proud of you. And it's okay if you make mistakes, because I know you're going to do better, and you have so much potential. That's what God is saying to us, to each and every one of us. And when we don't feel it, or we're not connecting to it, we start to crave it, and we start to fill in with either things or maybe behaviors. And that's something that we teach. The Bible, the divine principle, teaches that the root of most of our problems, or if not all of our problems, is a lack of love. That's how it started in the very beginning, when the archangel wanted to mess things up because of a lack of love, a sense of jealousy or a sense of anger. And when I think about that story, I wonder did that happen in a day, or did it happen over time? Maybe it was years. Maybe it was a lack of being able to express, and maybe those emotions were bottled in, and maybe they were stuffed in. Just like with this woman, it took time. It took years and years and years for this to develop and fully culminate. I bet you that might have been the same in the Garden of Eden, the same situation. So the key, I think, for me, this brought a very clear why do we want to go to church or read or pray? Because if we're filling up with that real presence, the real reality, which is God is right there, proud of you, loving you, then you can fill up the things in your life that may not have gone well or perfect. And I started to understand more what Jesus might have meant in John 6:35 and in other places when he said, I'm the bread of life. If you come unto me, those who come unto me will not be thirsty and will not be hungry. Again, will not be hungry. I don't think he's talking about real food. Oh, if you just pray enough to God, you'll never have to eat again? You'll never have to drink water again? No, that's not true. We know that's not true. What does it mean? I think it means you'll never have to hunger for love from your parents or love in general from others, because God is there. You'll never go hungry again if you're connecting to God. I think that's very powerful, and that gives me a very strong reason to keep pursuing reading the Word, praying, loving others. And you realize that actually it goes even a step further. If you have the capacity to tell someone else, hey, I'm proud of you, you're becoming like the channel that God is working through to tell that person something that's encouraging them. If God's trying to get a message through, maybe he can use you to give that message to that other person. So I just want to leave these thoughts with you. This topic this week has made me realize that when we have our daughter, when we have kids, I think the number one thing I want to teach them is to have a relationship with God. That's the first thing, and that's the most important thing. Because we know that parents can't always be there. They're going to grow up to some point where we won't be able to always be there. But God is. God is. Your relationship to God is the most important thing. So I want to leave those thoughts with you. Try to jump back into present reality. Present reality. Not always cyberspace. Try to realize that, in a sense, technology is addictive, that you are dealing with something the same way you would be if you sat down at a slot machine. Try to realize that the Word of God will fill you up to the point where you don't need to thirst and you don't need to hunger for anything. That God's love is meant to be intoxicating, that you are meant to be intoxicated and addicted to your spouse, to your kids, and to God. And if you're feeling lack of love, reflect on it now. Think about it right now. Maybe express it in some way that's healthy. Seek advice, seek consultation of some sort. Seek it now. Don't let it linger on 10 years so that it turns into you or me or anybody fabricating Social Security numbers. We don't need that. That's what happens when it goes on too long. So I just want to leave those thoughts with you. God is always with you. God is proud of you. God is with you at all times. And please reflect on these two quotes today and be intoxicated with love. Thank you.